What's up, guys? I know I'm a little early. I'm assuming you guys can hear me. We're going to start the live at 12 noon. Oh, I know I wanted to try. Let's see if we can go live on TikTok too. Like, why not? I haven't been live on TikTok in at least a year. While we're waiting, hello, everybody. We're using StreamYard, so I think I may not be able to see everyone's comments. You have to give permission to StreamYard. It's a really cool platform because it allows me to go live on both the Facebook page and, of course, our Yummy group and my Twitter account. So my goal is we're going to go live at 12 noon Eastern, so we've got a couple of minutes. Hello, I miss you. I don't know who you are because I'm using StreamYard. So I miss you. Hi. I had to take, while we're waiting a few minutes to go live. These lives on Mondays, guys, will be like just around 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. It's just to give you some juju for the week. I took practically the whole year off. I really showed up maybe 10, 20% of my capacity. And we'll talk a little bit more about that today too. But my goal is to recommit. I'm feeling, thank God, finally great. I was still just not strong to be able to exert the energy that I needed to and wanted to for us. So I am excited to be going back live. My goal is every Monday at 12 noon Eastern to pop in on a live here. They'll always stay in the feed, and then to continue on with the Zoom support group at 1 p.m. Eastern. Please do sign up. I'm actually going to add it here. www.fearlesswoman. I'm at a co-working station for Mondays. It's Christy. Woohoo! Of course it's you, my lovey. How are you, gorgeous Christine? By the way, your Facebook picture looks so good. It's so amazing, like the women, that we've been together now for, gosh, more than a year. What's amazing is how we've changed. Like I've seen, like even from the pictures, I've seen this more relaxed, free, natural look come through just in the profile pictures. And it's so important because we work so hard to be this image of something we're really not. And I think that the divorce and the breakup really forces us to take that step back. And I love seeing the softer images of everybody. So for Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern. So cool. I just posted the Zoom. I don't know where it's going to appear. That's the Zoom. Oh, cute. It's going everywhere. It's so awesome. So my goal is, again, to do that and, to really still come together. I think that there's more things to talk about as a fearless woman. It's not just, getting through that divorce and breakup. There's women that are just starting the process, of course, and then there's women that have already been divorced for a few years. So maybe we're looking to date. Maybe we're with a guy now that, is getting married, a good idea, or maybe it's a blended family, or maybe it's money and business. Or maybe it's just, not wanting to be with anybody. So I think that all those are great things as we discover and go on our journey as a fearless woman. So what I really wanted to talk about today is two things. We're going to focus today. It's now 12 o'clock. Thank God Christine's in the house. I love you. There's two major things I want to talk about today, and that's going to be this concept of being needy. So a lot of the women that have worked with me before, they've been introduced to this very powerful concept. Having needs as a woman, as an adult, as a human is very important. And it's fantastic when you know what your needs are. The problem occurs when you don't know what your needs are, and then you become needy. So what happens when you're needy, it's almost like you think you don't need it, but you actually do. And what happens when you're needy, you're just all over the place. You're so dysfunctional. You have chaos, you have frustration, you have resistance. It's just not working out. And I never really understood this concept of being needy. And I recognized that I was needy in so many elements, so many different elements of my life. And it was only once I grew up because I think most of my life I was definitely that, that girl that, I talk about the, being like, I want my candy. Like, no, So when you behave in these emotional tantrums, when you behave in this way of, screaming and yelling and getting upset, you're emotionally triggered. You're emotionally triggered. And by the way, that's okay. I always say we're women and we are emotional because we create life. We have hormones, we have, estrogen, and even now, like I'm freaking in my early 50s and I still am dealing with ovulation. Like, when is that menopause going to start? And it still hasn't started. So, yeah, it's okay to have emotions. But when you're constantly triggered by the emotions, when you constantly are screaming and yelling and crying, now again, there's some women here in our group and who listen to me. If you're just going through the process of that breakup and divorce, it's like not expressing your emotions and feelings doesn't work either because it's going to come out. So there's definitely, different parts of, recovery and rebuilding and mourning and dealing with all that. That makes a lot of sense. But I'm talking like macro. For me, like a big macro with my husband was that we always had this dance, right? We had a dance that he would yell and scream, or I never knew what mood he would be on, like, and I would have to tiptoe and I'd almost be afraid to ask him to do things, and because I didn't want to trigger his reaction, and I was always like this, and and if we would get in a fight, I'd always be the one to say sorry. And towards the end of my marriage, I was exhausted from it. And I learned that part of that was that I had a need for peace. So what was interesting about it, because I'm like truly an empath, and now that I know that, and these are things that you need to discover about yourself, right? So what happens, because you're needy for it, because like I didn't know that, I actually attracted the opposite. And that's what happens when you're needy. See, when you're not clear on who you are and what your needs are, you become needy because you're actually seeking that, but because it's coming from a lack and a deficient energetic source, you're actually attracting the opposite. So a lot of people that just want quiet, like this. I remember that's one of the biggest things that I loved so much when my husband and I split up. And then, like, my kids were at school or whatever, I'd be in my house and I'm like, it's so quiet. And I loved it. And I really discovered this about myself, that having the peace and the tranquility was very important for me. By the way, not all people need that. A lot of people need action and all that. I have my one son, he's 19, but I can tell he's constantly on the go and he needs to be moving and going. And all that. That's not me. I need time out. I need to rest. I need quiet. I need to be alone. I'll go to the beach alone. I'll go out to dinner alone. I do things alone and I like that. And that has really helped me find myself. So what happens with a lot of women when we're needy, we actually repel what we really need and we attract the opposite. We attract the screaming, the yelling, the dysfunction, the chaos and all that. And that's destructive. And not just that, it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable, which is why many of us end up in divorce or arguments or crying, or, even like what happened to me this year. I actually became physically not well just because of other things that were going on also, which we'll talk about another time too. So it's very, very, very important that you listen to yourself and that you listen to your body, because your body will actually tell you what you need. Your gut, your intuition, it will tell you what you need. The problem is a lot of us as normal human beings are afraid to deal with it, because the chaos and the fallout and the pain can be so destructive from a breakup, from a divorce and all that. So I totally get that. But the more you start learning about who you are and what creates feeling of safety, of security, of peace, of serenity, of love, of understanding, of acknowledgement, of validation. Like, if you start understanding this about yourself, then you become more clear, and the most beautiful thing happens. This transition occurs when you start saying, wait a minute, I really, like, for me, I'm like, I really need peace. Like, I don't want to be around anyone that screams and yells and shouts and gets upset. I don't want to be around people that I have to walk on eggshells. If I'm having to walk around eggshells with somebody, then I'm not going to have that person in my life. See how empowering that becomes? Now all of a sudden I'm really clear on what I need and I'm no longer needy. And then I start doing what I call housekeeping. So when I went through my divorce and those few years of really this transition from being a married woman and a mom, like I was with my husband 25 years from like age 20 to 45. We were married for 22. I mean, this ain't happening overnight, by the way. This does take time. But I started realizing that I got rid of I didn't get rid, but I pulled away from friends, from colleagues at work, from, even like my core business is recruiting. Like if I had a candidate that was obnoxious or that behaved in a way that wasn't acceptable to me, I just stopped working with him. See, when you're needy, you're going to, oh, what's going on here? Sorry, guys. I think it just stopped me. Where are you? Where's my StreamYard? There we go. I thought I shut off my phone thing, but I kind of interrupted. Sorry about that. When you get to that point that you're really able to make those decisions as who's in your life and who isn't and what you want, it's so empowering, and you start showing up differently. You'll just show up differently, and you're going to feel so much better about yourself. And not just that, you're now going to be so much more clear on your needs that you're not going to be needy, which means you're going to actually attract more of that. So my peace and my tranquility, my environment, my work, my peers, my day became peaceful. You see how that works? So when you're not aware of what's making you go berserko and crazy, you need to become very conscious of that. And the way you do that is you tap into your feelings. You have to tap into your feelings. Well, how does that make me feel? I don't care if it looks right. I had a friend once who said, Rebbe, I married the resume. The resume was perfect. She goes, the law degree, the money, the family, the Jewish, the this, the that, the good looks and all that. She goes, but I never liked him. But I married the resume, right? So when your gut's like, this doesn't feel right, I don't like it, but you're ignoring it because, it looks right or the piece of paper is right, you're being needy. You're maybe are you needy for safety? Are you needy for security? Are you needy for how you look like, how you're going to present yourself to the world? So then you have to work on yourself, because that doesn't work. So if you show up to the world that way, you're actually attracting things that will validate the neediness. It does the opposite. Just like with me, what I really wanted was peace, but what I really got was chaos, right? That's what I actually attracted into my life. And girlfriend, that does not happen to me right now. It just doesn't. I just don't let it happen. Of course, you could, you can be at Starbucks and you can have somebody who's like really grumpy. I live in Boca, and all due respect to my New Yorkers over here, but they're all coming down here, and the New Yorkers are very aggressive and they're honking. There's not much I can do about that, but that's life. But I just don't engage in that, right? I don't get mad about that stuff. So it's very important to understand that when you're needy, you're actually repelling what you need. And the way to really understand this about yourself is to tap into how you're feeling and to make that better. And that's not on him, that's on you. That's going to be on you. Okay, so much more to talk about that. That can be an endless discussion. Honestly, it doesn't end. It's organic. It changes. Your needs will change as you get older, as you evolve, as you're in a relationship, as you're single, as your kids leave. We're organic human beings, and you have to evolve through that. You just go out and in, and you just find that rhythm for yourself. I wanted to talk about the other element was exhaustion. By the way, before I forget, we're doing a Zoom. I started my Zoom support groups. I will be, God willing, adding an evening. I just didn't want to overexert myself. So I'm trying now first daytime, because it is a little bit easier for me daytime. So every Monday at 1:00, at least through the end of the year, we're going to show up at 1 p.m. Eastern. I think I'm going to do an extra one on that Saturday or Sunday, whenever New Year's Day is. I think I added one in there, but I'll keep you guys posted. I definitely want to do that for that then too. So if you're interested, please join the Zoom support group. It's great. I think we got 1 or 2 signups already. I will be there. And if we're just a few people, it is what it is. It's good. It's just a few people is even better, because then I get to be all over you. So that's 1:00 in the chat. It's on the chat to join, guys. Fearlesswoman.co at Zoom. I want to also quickly, I'm already, I know 15 minutes. I didn't want, oh, actually, it's not so bad. Um, Exhaustion. Okay, exhaustion is real, and it's the same concept as this element of being needy. So what happens when you become so physically exhausted and you just can't function, you can't even have the strength or the energy to show up, it's because the energy source is coming from a place of lack and deficiency. It's coming from a place of, anger or uh, perhaps even victimization. Um, I don't need anyone's help. The superwoman, by the way, I'm not impressed with superwoman. A lot of fearless women are like, I do everything. By the way, that was me. I do everything. I make the money. I run the house. I take care of the kids. I make all the meals. I give to my community. I work, blah, blah. Like there's not a minute that's mine and I do it all and all that. And that's just, I am like superwoman. That's lack. That's lack. I have a friend of mine right now too that I just like, I'm just amazed, now that I'm so aware of it, I'm like, oh, it's like I can already see right away when you overdo it, when it's overkill, when you're just being that superwoman and you're nonstop. I'm going to tell you right now that that's not sustainable and that will affect you emotionally, God forbid, physically. That's what happened to me. Okay. And it comes from the wrong energy source. Because when you're doing so much, that means you're needy for that validation. That means you're needy to be seen and heard. That means you're needy to be the best. And it's not healthy. It comes from the energy source that's actually toxic to you. It's toxic to you. And how do I know that? When I'll get a DM on Instagram or somebody will call me, or even if it happened to me, I'm exhausted. I am wiped out. God forbid there's a physical situation that occurs. And as we get older, guys, as we get older, our bodies are not able to manage that type of toxicity the way we were when we were in our, teens and 20s and even 30s. We're just not. When you work from a point of that, superwoman and I'll do everything and I don't need anyone's help and I got it, when you have that, that's repelling the receiving of love, the receiving of support, the receiving of help. You're actually repelling it. It's actually what you need. I'm not saying that, you're going to beg for help, but yeah, if somebody can pick up your kids, somebody can maybe, bring you over a dinner. I remember years ago, I had this one friend. She and I both worked, we were both busy, but I don't know, I somehow always made food for her and her family. I don't know how, and it came from, she was a good person. She's still my friend, but I would somehow like go to the store, spend $150, go to her house, make two huge meals for her family. And then I'd go to my house and my kids would get pizza. And I remember one time I'm like, what the hell just happened? I felt so gross. I was pissed. I felt gross. I'm like, what did I just do here? And what I was trying to do is, a million things. I was trying to show her I'm a nice person, that I do good. And I was trying for her to say, wow, Rebbe, you're so amazing. And that would make me feel great. But at the end of the day, it didn't. I felt taken advantage of, and I felt that I wasn't a good mother, and my kids got the shit end of the stick. That's ridiculous. With that specific person, I'm very careful now. She still shows up in a way that people will run and do things for her, not me. Because I learned that was my neediness to be validated, to be heard, to feel important, to feel like I mattered. I don't need to make you two huge dinners and spend $200 for me to feel good about myself. I just don't need to do that. I'm not that. I'm not superwoman, but I am a fearless woman. Do you see the difference? The difference between being superwoman and a fearless woman is you need to know when to not give. Because what happens with women like us, we're natural givers. It's also our nature to give. But because we're needy for that validation, Superwoman, I don't need you, you actually end up giving to takers. And takers will suck you dry. They'll suck you dry. They will suck the life out of you. So I'm not saying, I have some girlfriends even right now that are takers, but I'm so conscious of that and I love them because they have a lot of good. And by the way, sometimes they take because they're needy, like they're good people. There's some people that are takers that are really still good people. I just now know that I'm not taking the bait. I'm not going to do it. I'm not. And that boundary is so powerful. It's so empowering that it emboldens me because that's how I self-nurture and take care of myself. And I'm so proud of myself to say, hey, you know what? I'm not doing that because by actually not doing it is how I validate myself. Isn't that wild? Let me just scroll down here. By actually not doing that is actually how I validate myself. It's very empowering. And I think one of the biggest reasons people are so afraid not give is because they're afraid of the consequence. Oh my God, she might get pissed. He might get pissed. He might yell. He might scream. That comes all with all this made up stuff that we do in our head too. So anyway, this is very powerful stuff. And it's really a mindset paradigm shift that I've really enjoyed being and doing. I very much practice this in the present test. It's not something I do in the future. I'd like to be that. Oh, I want to do that. I don't live, in hope and I'd like to. I act it. I am it. I practice the I am. I'm always exercising me being a fearless woman. All right, guys. Anyway, that was our fun little live. Yay, we did it. So I'm going to be on, what time is it? It's already 12:18. Perfect. I want it to be right around 15 minutes. Excited to hopefully have some of you guys join us for the Zoom at 1 p.m. Eastern. It'll be every Monday at 1 p.m. It is not recorded. I do not stream it inside Facebook because this is more of an open group. God willing, next year when I do more of my private programs, I would stream it in there, but not in here. And I would love to meet you guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next Monday at 12 noon Eastern, again, to do a live. And hopefully I'll see you guys soon in the Zoom. Ciao.